Welcome, everyone, to the Week 5 series of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gann, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you had not had the chance, go check out our website at justsayingfootball.com and follow us on Instagram for article updates and video updates at Just Saying, no GWJS on Instagram. Before we get into the game day breakdowns of Sunday, little bit of news. We got some games moving around. The Bills versus Titans was moved from this Sunday to Tuesday at 7 p.m. Barring any COVID setbacks, that game will be happening today. No one tested positive for the Titans, so we're trending upwards for that game to happen on Tuesday. In other news, the Patriots and Broncos game was moved to Monday, 5 p.m. Interesting time, but earlier time for football, and we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Sunday kicks off with 7 games starting at 1 o'clock. Let's go down to this AFC South battle where the Jacksonville Jaguars are taking on the Texans in Houston. Jack, what you got for us?
I mean, I'm looking at this Texans team that Bill O'Brien has been fired this week. And, I wrote an article this summer about how Bill O'Brien should not have this amount of power. And here we see the end result of it. They're 0-4. But Jacksonville, this is a winnable game for them. I think that Romeo Crennel is now going to have the play calling power that he really needed over Bill O'Brien. And, Deshaun Watson, I'm expecting him to play to his strengths this week. I want to see him really just show us why he's special. He's only had 6 touchdowns for the first, 4 games, and he's had 3 picks. But that may be from the fact that this offense wasn't clicking and there were front office issues. But I am looking forward to this Minshew, Watson. There's going to be a lot of buying time in the pocket for both quarterbacks. But for the Texans, they're going to have to get this going. If they, are going through a coaching change in week 5 already, they're going to have to bring it this week.
Yeah, if you're the Texans right now, you're looking for that first win of the season for sure. You're not trying to lose, especially in a divisional matchup right now against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars, they played pretty well against the Bengals. They just couldn't do enough to beat Joe Burrow, who was playing really, really well that game. And obviously Joe Mixon had a hell of a game. Yeah. But I'm looking at these two teams, and these defenses really aren't very eye-popping. There's nothing about these two teams defensively that are really making me feel like they could give the edge. I feel like no Bill O'Brien. It's your first game. You're not sure where the head coach is going to be in the future. You're going to get that first win. It just feels like it's going to be one of those games. I'm going to go with the Texans on this one. I think Deshaun Watson has played great against them in his career. I think – so that's just going to be what it takes to get it done. It's going to be all Deshaun Watson. He's going to get the win. The Texans are going to finally advance to 1-4 and get the first one of the season.
Yeah, I love that. I think that the Texans need this win as a team. The players need to come together. I'm looking at the Texans here. We're also looking, you mentioned Joe Burrow. He's going up against, in our next matchup, the Baltimore Ravens. And, this is going to be interesting. We finally got to see Joe Burrow get his win. He's thrown back-to-back 300-yard games. He's been playing great. He looks, comfortable in this offense. Joe Mixon had his highest, scoring week in fantasy last week. That just shows you the amount of numbers he was able to really put up last week. But the Ravens are going to be a different matchup. I think that, they've faced bad secondaries this year, and this is not a bad secondary. This, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, those guys shut people down. It's going to be a tough week in the passing game for the Bengals.
Yeah, Joe Burrow has 300-yard games back-to-back. He's looking great. You just mentioned it. Tyler Boyd has slowly become his absolute favorite target so far, going 29 targets through the last 3 games, 24 receptions, 287 yards, and a touchdown. Like you said, Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphreys, the big paid cornerbacks for a reason. They're there to shut that down. Lamar absolutely dominates the Bengals. In his 3 starts against them, he has 3 wins. He's 49 for 69. That's 71% completion rate, 525 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. What's crazy, though, is he has 52 rushing attempts for 336 yards and 2 touchdowns. He just dominates them last year. He beat them 49-13 in that amazing spin move that he had in the open field and took it away for a touchdown. As much as I love Joe Burrow, and I'm super happy he got the first win, this is a really, really tough AFC North divisional matchup. The Ravens are really looking to dominate them like they have been, and I think this will be a good test for Joe Burrow just to see where he's at. Lamar Jackson is going to get the win today. or tomorrow. He's going to absolutely dominate them like he always does. But I do expect Joe Burrow to put up a good fight, to show us what he can do, and to show that he is this future of the Cincinnati Bengals as the franchise quarterback. But make no mistake, Ravens are going to get this win.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Ravens this one. They are able to get so creative on offense. They have so many defensive weapons. I think for the rookie Joe Burrow, they're going to throw a lot of new defensive looks at him. I think it's going to be really tough. And like I mentioned, that shutdown cornerback tandem is always going to be a tough matchup. Now, one team that has not had any shutdown cornerback tandem is the Atlanta Falcons, and they're hosting their NFC South rival, the Panthers, this week. Teddy Bridgewater, your man, is leading the charge here in Carolina. We were expecting them to, struggle this year with all the changes, the first-year head coach, Christian McCaffrey going out, and it looks pretty solid for them. With Christian out, he had an average of 7 targets a game. Mike Davis, his backup, is averaging 7 catches per game. We're talking about somebody that has had 21 catches over, the last 4 weeks. He has been able to, get it done on the ground. He doesn't have too many attempts, but this has been a good passing offense. Teddy is getting it done. And I'm looking out for them to attack that, that Falcons weak secondary right now. And their defense is allowing 34.5 points per game right now, which is which the only team worse than that right now is the Dallas Cowboys. And, they're not playing well at all. So what are you thinking about this Atlanta team? Can they beat these Panthers?
I don't think they're going to be able to get it done this weekend. Julio Jones with the hamstring injury, whenever you have Julio Jones possibly not going to be in the game or limited like he was in the Packers, it's going to make this offense that much harder. I love what Calvin really has been able to do so far this year, but I just don't think that the Falcons have enough offensively or defensively to keep up in this game. Bridgewater really looks comfortable leading the charge of his offense. Like you said, it's now beginning to finally all mesh together. They beat a very good Cardinals defense last week. They now get to have a relatively easy Falcons team this week. I think that they're just going to be able to kind of do what they want. Gurley finally looks good for the Falcons. Hopefully we'll get to see more of him and see how healthy that knee is as the year continues. But the Falcons are struggling right now, and it's hard for them to find a win. They got absolutely destroyed by Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in Green Bay on Monday. And I don't think they're going to be able to get it done. I think they're going to drop to 0-5. I don't think Dan Quinn is going to lose his job. I don't feel like he's on the hot seat. I know that sounds weird when you're talking about an 0-5 team, but the players love him. The players love Dan Quinn, and they also have had the lead a handful of times throughout the season and absolutely lost it. So there is accountability, I guess, on both sides. But no Julio makes me really worried about this offense and what they can do. I'm going to go with Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, I actually have to oppose. Although I mentioned the bad defense, I do trust Matt Ryan. I liked how they used Todd Gurley last week. The fact that they're, playing at home. And, if they were to go 0-5, it would be the first time since 1997 the Falcons went 0-5. I think that they understand what's on the line for them at this point in the season. And I think they understand they have to get it done. And I think they do get their first win this week.
All right. I like it. Let's move on to our third divisional matchup. We got the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Are the Chiefs going to stay perfect?
I mean, it's crazy to bet against the Chiefs when they play at Arrowhead. Pat Mahomes is, looking great right now. He looks exactly as people expected. What I am looking for here is, though, Derek Carr to put up a huge fight. It would be, they have not won in Arrowhead, the Raiders, since 2012. I'm looking for them to come in and really fight. They have a lot of good weapons. They've played well offensively this year. But these are 2 top 10 scoring offenses, and it could really mean a lot, points just being put up, all the weapons from each side being used. For Kansas City would be Hill, Kelsey, Edwards-Helaire. But I'm looking at Derek Carr. He in the first 4 weeks, he has 8 touchdowns and no interceptions. I was going to say, that would make him imperfect, but he's playing great right now. And he looks, him and Gruden look to be on the same page. But I do think that the Chiefs do stay perfect.
I absolutely agree. I think the Chiefs are going to stay perfect. What I want to see is, it looks like Trent Brown and Henry Ruggs were full participants in practice yesterday, trending upwards to play tomorrow on Sunday. With them back, it'd be really fun just to see what this offense can do with Ruggs. I really like the deep ball that we saw a couple weeks ago to him that they were trying. I believe it was against the Saints.
Yeah.
On a third down, they just tried for the deep ball. They didn't get it. They did get a PI, and I want to see a little bit more of that. I want to see what this offense can do in terms of letting the ball deep downfield. That's why you got the speedster in Ruggs. But I think you're absolutely right. They are going up against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. That is not an easy matchup. Although they get Trent Brown back, and that's huge. Chiefs are getting Chris Jones back. So
Yeah.
huge addition offensively, huge addition defensively. I think Patty Mahomes continues to just dominate. Tyreek Hill looks really good in the offense. They were able to get him into the end zone last week. I just don't think that the Raiders have enough defensively currently at the moment. But I think that this will be a pretty high-scoring game. I think this has a lot of high-scoring potential in both offenses to really show what they can do and open up the playbooks a little bit more. Raiders are going to fight till the end. That's what they do with Gruden. But Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. He's hard to beat
Yeah.
at Arrowhead.
Yeah, the $500 million man, you can't bet against them.
No.
You asked me whether you think, whether I think that the Chiefs are going to stay perfect. And I just had to ask you, do you think that the Jets are going to stay imperfect as they have the Cardinals coming to town? And right now they're 0-4. And Sammy Darnold's not playing this week. Who is playing this week, Chauncey?
I do not like that there is no Sam Darnold in the backfield anymore to quarterback this team. You immediately, when you have Joe Flacco, you immediately lose any of the running ability that you once had in Sam Darnold, which makes me very worried. The Cardinals dropped two straight, two that we didn't expect them to necessarily drop, to the Lions and then the Panthers. And I think that the Cardinals are looking here as a game for revenge. They have a really easy matchup in terms of the defense and offense. They're getting some playmakers back in Budda Baker.
Yeah.
Hopefully Kenyon Drake in this run game can finally get going. We haven't seen what so many people expected of Drake this season. And against a favorable matchup in the Jets, this should be pretty good for him to run the ball well. The Jets are getting Bell back, and that's nice, but I just don't see how they're going to be able to compete with DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know who on that defense could possibly cover DeAndre Hopkins, and the amount of looks that he's getting from Kyler Murray, he's just going to absolutely dominate this game. I feel bad for the Jets right now. I think it's a tough situation when your quarterback goes down 4 weeks into the season, and now you got to see Joe Flacco try to evade some rushers.
Yeah, and the Cardinals, they don't have any shortage of pass rushers. They have Chandler Jones coming off the edge, and they've been using Isaiah Simmons, who in the offseason was one of our favorite rookies coming out of Clemson. They use him everywhere, and that's going to be a tough day for Joe Flacco, especially. But I'm looking for a big game from Jamison Crowder. I think he's really the only good receiving option Flacco's going to have. They could go deep with him, but I think the Cardinals take this one.
100%. Also, Mekhi Becton and Rashad Perriman are doubtful. Offensive line's getting a little bit weaker. Depth of those wide receivers getting a little bit weaker. Chris Hogan's questionable. You're right. It's really just Jamison Crowder at this point. It's gonna be tough. Hopefully Bell does something in the run game. That could be.
I hope. He's looking good. He's looking good to play. I mean, it's going to be a tough thing. We're going to see him probably limited splitting with Frank Gore in that backfield if he is on the field. And then, our next matchup here is an exciting one. The Steelers, who basically had their bye week pushed up last week, they are going to have to play from this point in the season on without a bye week due to the Titans situation with positive COVID tests. But they have a little battle Philadelphia going on. We have the Eagles, not about Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But we got Pittsburgh, and Philly. And we're looking at this Eagles team that is banged up right now. There's no other way to describe it. Alshon Jeffrey is out. Sean Jackson is out. Their IR list has, first-round pick Jalen Reagor on there, Dallas Goedert, Brandon Brooks, Jason Peters. These are all guys that Carson Wentz needs to help him operate. There's not too much going on for this offense. And what does Carson need to do to get around this incredible Steelers defense, which is, fifth in points allowed right now?
You need to have these receivers and Jason Peters. That's what you need as Carson Wentz. I feel bad for him. I feel a lot of sacks are going to happen. I think this is going to be a really, really difficult game to overcome. Wentz has not looked amazing this season. He didn't look like the MVP that we saw a few years ago. He struggled. Again, the weapons have not really been there for him. It's hard to get going. They got a big win against San Francisco in San
Yeah.
Francisco last week, but with all these injuries, you're going up against the Steelers defense. The Steelers are completely healthy, both
Yeah.
offensively and defensively. This is going to be a hard game for the Eagles to overcome. It's also in Pittsburgh. It's not even going to be in Philadelphia for them. I can't imagine the Eagles winning this game. Miles Sanders, you're going to be seeing a lot of runs and a lot of passes to him. But this is going to be a hard game for the Eagles. The defense of the Steelers is great. They are just stopping the run game. They are stopping the pass game. They are not letting people score. They are well rested now. Any injuries that they did have possibly going into week 4 are now completely fine. Big Ben looks good. I feel bad for the Eagles right now in this game. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard to block TJ Watt, to block Bud Dupree. So I'm going to go with the Steelers. They're going to get a nice win.
I like the Steelers in this. I love what TJ Watt is doing. Joe Hayden is questionable, but he should be playing. Especially Juju as well, questionable. I expect both of those players to play. But the Steelers have such a good amount of weapons, while the Eagles are hurt right now. They have the rookie Chase Claypool, who is really coming into his own, being used for his height and his speed. Juju is the number one guy there. He's getting targets. Deontay Johnson's really made himself into the team's number 2 with, his ability for the run after catch. Ebron looks like, we saw in the last game they played that him and Big Ben look to be getting on the same page. Big Ben right now, he has 7 touchdowns and 1 interception after 3 games. He's looking great, as you said. I'm looking for the Steelers to take this one. I think their defense right now is just one of the best in the league, and I think they're going to play too consistently for this Eagles team.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Moving on, we got the LA Rams in Washington taking on the Washington football team. What do you think is going to happen? We have no Dwayne Haskins starting. He got benched in favor of Kyle Allen this week.
Yeah, Rivera said 2 weeks ago that he wanted to give Dwayne Haskins, one more opportunity. He was not really liking, miscommunications during games or missed opportunities, for big third downs. Kyle Allen, we saw him last year in Carolina. We got to see that he can operate an offense to a pro level and he can win games. And that's really where Washington is right now at 1-3. They're realizing that they need to do what's best for them to win. Alex Smith's going to be the backup. Not often do you see a guy come out of the system like in Ohio State, have the season he had, get drafted in the first round, and he finds himself in his second year being replaced. You don't really always see that. But it is going to be a tough matchup with him against, Kyle Allen against the Rams getting back on the field. This Rams team is playing well. We saw them go well against the Giants last week. How are you feeling about them on offense, the Rams?
It's the offense that's worrying me. Washington has a good defense. That's what they've been showing us all year. They can stop the run. They can get after the quarterback. They're pretty good against the pass. They have an overall good defense for the most part. It's their offense that we see struggles with the exception of Terry McLaurin. But this Rams offense last week looked really off. They put together 2 good drives against the Giants. The opening drive where they chewed off like 7 minutes and put up a touchdown. And then when Cooper Kupp just broke away from everyone on a botched defensive play from the Giants, missed open field tackle. So I don't love what this Rams offense did last week. And that's what's worrying me up against a good defense. I expect Sean McVay and that offense to bounce back, though, and say what we did last week was unacceptable. We were not clean. We were not getting the passes we wanted. We were not getting the blocks we wanted. We were not executing the X's and O's that they always usually do when it comes to these trick plays and moving the ball around. So I expect them to struggle a little bit against Washington at the beginning of the game. I genuinely will say that. I feel like Washington is a great team when it comes to just putting up a fight through 3 quarters. It's going to be towards that end there of Aaron Donald getting after Kyle Allen and forcing a fumble at some point in the game. That's going to be the real determining factor to me of this game. I'm going to go with the Rams because I like what they can do offensively overall, even though last week wasn't great, and what they can do defensively. I also feel like when you're just putting in Kyle Allen, It's going to change that look a little bit, and it's hard to go up against Aaron Donald your first game as a starter.
Yeah, I mean, and we say it I feel like we talk about it every week, how we have so much respect for Aaron Donald, how, he is able to just dominate double teams, triple teams, doesn't matter. And for a quarterback stepping on the field for the first time in the season in week 5, especially with a weaker side offensive line, Aaron Donald's going to wreak havoc this week. Yeah, I think that we saw him do with the Dallas O-line. And that's going to be a big factor. If Kyle Allen can, understand in the moment, he needs to be able to make those throws. Ron Rivera has a system ready for him. He's got to go show people that he is the starter for this team.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
I'm going Rams now.
Yeah, I trust Rivera, and I feel like Washington was going to get there in a few years. Again, their defensive foundation is great. They need a few more weapons on offense, I think, outside of Terry, and they need to now solidify their quarterback situation. He said that he's not giving up on Dwayne Haskins, but when you're benching your first-round quarterback a year ago, 5 weeks into the season now, it does begin to feel like you are giving up on them, even if you're saying you're not. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. That's all the time that we have today. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We hope that you enjoy the early games and like what you heard.
Yeah, like, subscribe. Check out our YouTube, Just Saying Football. Check out our website, justsayingfootball.com, and our Instagram, Just Saying, no GWJS. Enjoy the games.
Enjoy.